Good morning. Good to see you guys again. Welcome to all the occupiers of White City Place. Really nice to connect this way, and we'll be here for at least the next few weeks offering all these videos. So with me, it's meditation. If you're new to meeting me, every week I do this meditation session just for you guys, and each week is a slightly different theme. And what happens is I talk for a little moment about a different theme each week. We'll kind of go into some of the nuances with meditation, some of the myths that we can blow away, and then we just go into meditation that I guide you through. So that's kind of how it works. Every week I'll talk for a little bit, and it's just all about the different ideas. There's so many different ideas about meditation and different ways of meditating. And actually that brings me to a thought to share. So there are so many different ways to meditate that some people will say, oh yes, well I follow the breath. That's the meditation that I do. Or some people might say, oh, I look at a candle, or you might do what's termed as a mindful experience, which is maybe as you're walking, doing a moving meditation. Or you might just go into a really deep space where you just try and rid all of your thoughts. And the point of all of that is that you can change what style of meditation you do. It doesn't have to be the same one every time you go meditate. But also, you can also change within your meditation practice. So say if you're practicing meditation for 20 minutes, let's just say 20 minutes, then, and you wanted to try different types, you might do 4 different types of meditation within that practice. So don't be too habitual about what you do. I think if you do the same type of meditation practice every single time, then you will become habitual with it. It'll become harder for you because, you'll kind of be so used to doing the same meditation. Let's just say it was a breath one. You'd be so used to doing that the challenge then would be to maintain your focus while you're still doing the breath meditation. So it's really good to kind of mix it up a little bit to kind of keep you fresh, challenge yourself a little bit more. And even though I mentioned you can get bored doing the same one all the time, you could also look at that as a bit of a challenge. You can kind of go, right, my mind is wandering more because this breath work that I've been doing is now becoming habitual. And then noticing that and going, right, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to try even harder to keep my focus. And then you've got to factor in all the different days. One day you'll be feeling far more tuned in. And other days you might have the monkey mind sprawling around and find it really difficult to home in on meditating. And that's fine, because all of those situations are all adding to your experience. The most important thing is that you practice every day. That's the hardest part for most people. It's not finding the time, because everybody can find that time, but it's really committing and being disciplined to arrive at that place and just allow it to happen. And we get really twitchy with time as well. Start looking at our watches and wondering if 10 minutes might be up by now. And all I can say is that when you do that, when you practice more, you'll be less aware of the time, and B, you'll actually find that you probably meditated for a little bit longer. Now, it's not easy for anybody, so don't ever think, oh, God, I've been wondering about the time, so therefore, I'm not really doing it properly. I'm not very good at this. Don't allow that to happen. Everybody has that at the beginning. Seasoned meditators will sit. It can take them a long time to let everything just kind of float away. You might sit down on a cushion and have so many different thoughts flying around. If you were with me This time last week, you'll know that I was in the middle of moving house. And of course, I had so much to do and think about. It was really nice to just stop in the middle of the day. I was so grateful for this experience. But it was so great to stop and do that. And of course, it took me longer to allow the thoughts to slow down. So just know that that is a process. That's part of the meditation. You're going to be sitting there for a while with thoughts flying all around. And it does take some minutes, at least, for those to kind of simmer down. You won't get rid of all of the thoughts, but they will become a little bit less in volume. And then when you notice you're having thoughts, the other thought is that you don't get attached to your thought. So it's fine to notice that you're having thoughts. There's nothing wrong with that. That is the meditation. You're noticing you're having the thought, and then you're coming back to the awareness of whatever your point of focus might be in the meditation. So that is the meditation. You're noticing, you're becoming aware, and you're going, right, going back to the focus. When it's not working for you is when you're getting attached to the thought. So a thought comes in and you start going into the narrative. You get lost in the story of the thought, and that thought leads to another thought, which leads to another thought. Before you know it, you're down the rabbit hole and 15 minutes have passed and you think, oh my God, I'm rubbish at this. Again, it's okay. Just keep showing up and find that time every day. So why do we want to do that? Lots of benefits. So I want to hone in today a little bit on brain waves. I have tapped into this before. There's a whole backlog in the library of the videos that we've been doing over the last few months. And one of them definitely I tapped into brain waves. But I want to focus really just on one brain wave at the moment, and this is the gamma wave. So the gamma wave is actually the fastest brain wave, which might give you an idea that it's, when you're stressed or something like that. It's not. It's got nothing to do with the speed. So you've got, you've got your theta wave, you've got your delta waves. These are all the very slow, cruisy waves. And then you've got your beta wave, where you are constantly thinking. And you've got this gamma wave as well. And now gamma waves, the reason I want to focus on this one in particular is that gamma waves is the most present wave in yogis who have been meditating for years. So whenever I talk about anything like this, it's either something that has been proved by science, or it's something that I've been experienced myself. So this one is a science thing, and the science was done on yogis who had, golly, I think it was between 9,000 and 12,000 hours of meditation experience. Some of those yogis would have been on 3-year retreats where they would meditate for 8 hours a day for it was 3 years, 3 months and 3 days. And then you had other yogis who had meditated all their life and therefore had accumulated these thousands of hours. So it's a lot of hours. And gamma waves are important. Why? Because they cover all of the brain regions, really, in your head. So I did mention last week that with certain types of meditation, they will illuminate certain areas of your brain. So, if you're doing let's just say a more mindful meditation where you are really, really focusing, that might light up your prefrontal cortex. If you were doing more of an emotional, a compassionate meditation, then that would light up another part of your brain. Your brain is divided into all these different sections, and the neurotransmitters are just firing all over the place all of the time. We couldn't even keep track of it. There are so many every second of your life. So the gamma waves are the waves that actually cover every part of your brain. And what that means is that you are living in a more balanced state. Okay, so an idea, and I'm going to be paraphrasing for this with this idea because I can't think of a better one. This idea is from the science of meditation, and it's just an idea of you understanding what happens when you have this particular thought and the gamma waves happen in your brain. So I want you to imagine a juicy peach, and you look at the juicy peach and you can smell it, and you take a bite of this juicy peach and you can taste it. All of your senses are firing at once. All right. And when that's happening, all your neurotransmitters in all parts of your brain that facilitate all those senses are going off at the same time. And that can just be you just thinking about that peach. Okay, that can set off your gamma waves. But as Joe Public's walking around, we really only have those gamma waves for a split second here and there throughout our days. These yogis that were in a scientific study who had all these thousands of years, sorry, not thousands of years, that would be a miracle. Gosh, meditation would work if they lived for thousands of years. Thousands of hours experience of meditating. They were, sorry, I lost my track there, but there was a control group as well. And then there were these yogis that had all the experience. And the idea was to put the EEGs, these little kind of suckers on their scalps to measure the brain waves as the yogis were meditating. What was important about this was that the control group, when they were meditating, they were, so if you're not sure, a control group is a control group of volunteers who aren't necessarily seasoned meditators. They might be very new at it, beginners, or might never have meditated at all. And then they are taken through a meditation and their brain waves are recorded to see what areas of their brains light up. And every now and then a little gamma wave would come up in theirs, but not for long. It was other areas of their brain would light up. With the yogis, what they discovered was that throughout the meditation, it was a consistent gamma wave that was going on for the whole time, which is really, really extraordinary. When you think about it, we have to have those extraordinary experiences to get the gamma waves in the first place. But what's even more important about that is that with the control group and the yogis, they looked at the data before they meditated. This is the important part, before they meditated. And there were no gamma waves in the control group, but in the yogis group, there was a consistency of gamma waves. So whether they were meditating or they weren't, these gamma waves were the most dominant wave. And so what does that mean? Well, it means that they are far more balanced. They have this really nice, calm way of living because everything is neutral, everything is in balance. And I thought that was a really kind of cool thing to maybe try and bring into our meditation today. We're going to do a more mindful meditation where you are, we're going to try and bring in a lot of the senses. So we'll do a bit of that. We'll also do a little bit of breath work, and we'll also do a little bit of kind of stillness work as well, because it's really nice to give you a little bit of a mixed bag. Okay, so hopefully all that made sense. I'm just going to make sure that our phones are switched off. Yeah, cool. All right, so just get yourself nice and comfortable. And by that, it just means that you can sit comfortably for the next 20, 25 minutes. So you might want to make sure your back is supported. If you do make sure your back's supported, just make sure you're not kind of like slumping back so far that you're kind of, sinking into your chest. You want to be, you want to have a nice long spine, whether it's kind of supported or not. I'm actually going to inch back myself. So I've got the wall behind me because I like to have it supported so that then you can just focus on your mind as opposed to, you know, being uncomfortable. All right. There are some meditations that are just about that, being uncomfortable and having to sit with that. But I'm not going to make you do that one, especially not today. So, yeah, just sitting there nice and quiet, closing your eyes. And I just want you to get a really nice sense of how you're feeling right now, how your breath is, without controlling your breath. The minute we take our attention to our breath, we do tend to try and control it. So try not to. Just see if you can be a third party observer. We're going to be doing a little bit of that as well. And that just means kind of standing back from yourself a little bit and just witnessing how you are in the moment and just seeing yourself as a third party. So just step away from yourself a little bit and just notice how you're breathing, what it's like naturally without you changing it. How your body feels, if you need to shift a little bit or change position, some way where you feel, yeah, I can, really let go here and just surrender. Hang on to any muscles to hold myself in a position. And we'll just start with some breathing exercises. It's always good to start with breath exercises because that can really slow down the mind, just because your mind follows the breath. So if your breath is slower, then your mind will catch up with that and slow down a little bit as well. It'll also give you a nice little focus just to kind of start off with. So just letting all of the breath go. There's always more to let out. So just let all the breath go, push out the last little bit. I want you to breathe in for 5, up through the nose if you can, if you're not blocked. Inhaling. 3, 4, 5. Hold the breath at the top just for a couple of beats. And breathe out for longer, maybe 7. Exhaling. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then take it again, breathing in your own time. Making sure the exhale is longer than the inhale. Just keep this going for a few rounds. And also just notice when you're breathing in and you're holding the breath at the top, just notice if you've raised your shoulders a little bit. See if you can just kind of let the shoulders relax. So it's really an effortless breath, even though it's a kind of full breath. You're not kind of breathing so much that you're ready to bust, it's just an easy in and out. The out being longer than the in. You can change the ratio of the breath if you want to. Change the numbers, longer or shorter, up to you. Just take 2 more of these rounds in your own time, no rush. Whenever you're done, and don't rush it, just always honor your breath. Finish each round. But if you have already finished, just resting in that quiet space, just looking at the back of your eyelids. If you're just finishing off and you get to the end, the same thing, just joining us, just looking at the back of your eyelids, just sinking into a very vacant space. Just taking a little rest from that conscious breathing, just not breathing in any particular way, just noticing how your recovery breath is. Just watching that. Just keeping that going, just being really nice and easy on yourself, just staring at the back of your eyelids, just while I tell you what the next thing's going to be. So, the next thing's going to be what we call coherent breath, and that's keeping the breath even on both sides. So, in other words, if you're going to be breathing in for 5, you're going to be breathing out for 5. And we're not going to be doing any little stops in between, as in holding the breath or at the top or the bottom. Just want you to try and create this wave with the breath. That takes a little bit of practice. I'll start with you in a minute, but it takes a little bit of practice just because you might find getting the even sided breath, you might find that you run out of the exhale before you get to the number. So you might need to slow down the exhale, or maybe you need to speed up the inhale. Just work around it a few times until you get into a nice kind of smooth wave. But so that we keep to the 5-second rule, which is not a rule, nothing's really that important, but just to give you an idea, the ideal is 5, the optimal level for you to breathe in and out, preferably through your nose if you're not blocked. If you are blocked, of course, use your mouth. But the ideal is 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out throughout the day, if you can. So whenever you get the chance to experiment with that, you can do that. It's a nice little easy thing to do. Okay, so just again, letting go of all of your breath. I'll do the first few with you, just to keep you in time. Push out all of your breath. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in, 2. Keep going at your own pace. So you can keep that count going. Just keep going your own time. Just a little observation as I've been doing it with you. You might find on the exhale that you need to breathe out more at the top of that count because you've got more breath at the bottom before you inhale and you want to empty your lungs fully. So I think the exhale is going to be more of a kind of energetic exhale, like you're kind of pushing more breath out so that it's fully empty at the end. And then you can take a nice inhale, an empty lung before you inhale again. That's just an observation from my point of view. It might be the same. Now, while you're doing that, Try now to keep the breath at the same speed, but see if you can lose the count. So you're not counting in your head, you're just getting a really good sense of how big those waves are, just subconsciously now. And as you're letting go of the count, the mental count, just see what the breaths are like. So I really want you to look at the texture of the breath. Because you've been counting, is it now a little bit kind of stepped with your breath? Do you feel like you're still going up steps with the breath? Or is it more like traveling up and down an escalator? Can it be nice and smooth? Can you smooth out where you are counting and just make it really nice, smooth wave up and a smooth wave down? Also noticing if you're really, really filling yourself up or if you're just doing it quite subtly. Just all these little details of the breath. There's so much about the breath that we don't even recognize or notice. Whether it's deep or shallow, long, short, rough or smooth. Whether you can sense the air coming in and out of the nostrils. Whether you can sense the chest expanding just very slightly, even if you're not taking massive breaths. That chest cavity just going out to the sides a little bit as you inhale, making way for the lungs. And on the exhale, retracting a little bit. Just keep that going in your own time with the waves. And you've done this a few times. This is where the thoughts of the day might come in. So remember, if that happens, you just recognize the thoughts and you just come back to your breath, to that count, to that 5 in and 5 out, or just the sense of the 5, how long that breath is. Same with sounds. If you get distracted by any sounds in your living space or outside, neighbors, it's the same thing. Try not to get drawn into what the sounds are about. Just know they're there and just keep coming back. It's okay to have those interruptions. What's more important is that you come back each time. Just taking 2 more breaths like this. Again, there is no rush. When you get to the bottom of that second one, just again easing into that space where you are just gazing behind your eyelids, just noticing what's there, whether it's a color or shapes. Might be a few colors, might be a few shapes. There might be nothing like that. It might just be a blank shade of a color. There might be a couple of shades. Seeing what's there and relaxing into a regular breath, although you might still subconsciously be doing the 5 in and 5 out, which would be wonderful if that just happens subconsciously. But if it doesn't matter. It's all good. Okay, now I'm going to take you to the more sensory experience. So we're standing in a rose garden. And I want you to focus on one particular rose. And it's a pink rose. It's about the size of your palm. and the sun is shining on it. So with the sun shining on the pink rose, it lightens the color just a little bit. Very, very tiny difference, but it is just fractionally lighter than the deep pink it is without the sun. So the sun is shining on it. You get a little bit closer and you can smell the rose. Breathing in that scent. You can feel the sun on your skin. There are sounds around you, but they're distant. People's voices, children playing. As you're smelling the rose, you notice a bee come in, but it's not really concerned about you. It's really all about the flowers. So it's circling around the rose, and you can really see, you're so close, you can see all the colors. You can see that bright yellow and the black, velvety black of the bee. It looks so soft that you kind of know what it would feel like if you touched it. And you notice the bee's very papery, thin wings. But moreover, it's the sound of the bee buzzing very close to your face. You can hear it. It does a few little circles around the flower and then it goes away. You smell the rose again. And as you're taking that next smell, zooming into the rose a bit more, a bit of cloud cover comes over the sun. And the rose gets a little bit deeper in that pink. So it's more of a fuchsia pink, very deep, velvety pink. You look at the petals a little bit more closely and you can really understand the texture, that velvety texture, how smooth and soft the petals are. As you're looking, that big cloud that's just come over the sun starts to drop a few little spots of rain onto the rose. And you notice the first drop and how it doesn't absorb into the petal. It just kind of runs down the petal as if the petal's got a bit of a waxy finish. And then another drop. But this drop doesn't run down, it just sits lightly on the petal. And you can see it's like a little glass bead. It reflects the sky above you. And then it rains some more. And that really makes the soil that the rose is in much wetter, but also gives off a beautiful smell, a real smell of the earth. Fills your nostrils. So you bend down and you just sink your fingers into the damp soil. And you can really feel it between your fingers. Earthy feel, and you bring some of that to your nose to get an even closer smell. And that beautiful summer rain smell fills your nostrils. And then you walk through some grass. And again, you can feel and smell the summer rain. Some of that smell is coming from the cement and some little paths in the park where it's been heated by the sun and then the rain has come down and give this lovely scent. And then you arrive home. You're back in your home. Something's been cooking in the oven. So when you walk into the house, you can smell home baking. There's been some coffee percolating in the pot, so you can smell that. And this takes over your salivary glands. You start to feel a little bit hungry, even though you weren't before, just by smelling that, it's made you feel a little bit hungry. So you open the oven door and you feel the heat from the oven. And you can see that someone's been baking some little chocolate muffins. So they look like they're ready. But just to test it, you get a knife and you just put the blade into the top of the muffin. It just slices through really easily. You pull out the knife and it's nice and clean. But that's caused a little bit of steam to come out of the muffin, and you get a really lovely smell of that home baked muffin, a cakey smell. So you take the muffins out, you put one of the muffins onto a plate, and you cut it in half. And that gives even more steam, more of that smell. And as it cools down, you are then able to take a little bite, and you bite into one of the chocolate drops that's made it a chocolate muffin. It's soft and really hot, but really, really nice chocolate flavor. So you eat the muffin and then you decide to have some water. So you get a glass. You can feel the glass in your hand, the smoothness. It's been cool because it's been in the cupboard for a while. You run the water, the cold water, until it gets really cold. And you put the tap inside the glass and just fill up that water. And as you take a drink of water, you can feel that go down your throat, really nice and cool. And a really nice relief after the hot muffin. Now I want you to just come into your body again. So just come back to the back of your eyelids. I want you to bring in some little present awareness of how you are right now. So whenever I mention a part of your body, I want you to take your attention there. And if you can soften that part of your body a little bit more, great. If not, just be aware of bringing your attention to that part. So you're sensing that part of your body in space, if you like. Whether you're sitting cross-legged, on a sofa, on a chair, lying down, it doesn't matter. So we can start off with your heels of your feet. Just bring your attention there to the inner arches of your feet. Your toes, starting with the big toes first. Just feel them on both feet. And then make your way down all the way to the little pinky toe. Just get a sense of where they are. Moving up to your ankles. Just feeling your ankles just ease a little bit. The backs of your calves. Your knees, above your knee, below the knee, behind the knee, softening so many muscles there. And sometimes just thinking about the place can just kind of soften that muscle or bone or tendon, ligament a little bit more. Coming up to your hips, grounding you into the earth, heavy gravity, drawing them down, supporting you. Your shoulder blades, your shoulders. Now, depending on how you're sitting, if you don't have your palms facing up, then just let the backs of your palms rest on your thighs and just have your palms facing up. I'm going to travel down each arm, but when I come to your fingers and your thumb, try not to move them to get a sense of how they feel. Just see if you can sense where they are, as opposed to moving the fingers, if that makes sense. All right, so going down the right hand side, just starting with the upper arm, your right upper arm, the muscles there, the right elbow, the right wrist, your right thumb, try not to move it, the right index finger, the right middle finger, the ring finger, and the little finger. Now focus on the palm of your hand. It may be that you can experience some tingling or some pins and needles, or maybe it's just a kind of dull feeling. Might even feel weighted, or maybe nothing at all, maybe just the air above. And then going to your left side, your left upper arm, your left elbow, your left wrist, the left thumb, the left index finger, middle finger, fourth finger, little finger, palm of your hand. Just taking a moment to experience any sensations there. Noticing. Coming down to your sacrum, so right at the bottom of your spine, and then just tracing up the vertebra through the thoracic region, your chest area, all the way up to the nape of your neck, and then following some more to the bottom of your skull, and then over the back of your head, all the way up to the crown, and then rolling over onto the forehead, relaxing the skin between your eyebrows, your eyelids, heavy, your eyes resting in the sockets, really nice and heavy in the eyes. And then your jawline, relaxing your jawline. And then just being a third party to your breath again. Just noticing that. Now I want you to imagine that you are standing across the room from yourself right now. And I want you to look at yourself, obviously with your eyes closed. Keep your eyes closed the whole time, but just imagine you're across the way from yourself and you're looking back at you now, meditating. So you can see yourself in the room that you're in, and you're a third party looking at yourself. And the idea is that you just send yourself some love. So that might be just looking and thinking, right, that's great. You know, you've showed up for your practice, you're working on yourself, you're a good person, you're here. Whatever comes up for you, whatever you want to send yourself, whatever message an outsider, a third party would say to you, what you would say to you looking at yourself from the outside. Just send yourself some kindness. And I want you to imagine going over to yourself and giving yourself a big hug. And then with that hug, just bringing in a really nice sense of joy into your body, just feeling that levity, that lightness, that love, that joy, that happiness, that good feeling. I want you to take your hands together and rub them really hard against each other until you create so much heat that you actually can't do it anymore because you feel like your hands are going to go on fire. Like it gets that hot, you can feel the skin um, trying to kind of come off the palms of your hands. So just do it until it get really, really hot. The faster you go, the hotter it gets. And then when you feel like they really, really are hot, you can just stop right there and then just cup your hands over your eyes and just dive into whatever it is that comes up. So it feels like you're looking even though your eyes are closed. It's probably quite a deep, darker color. So really diving into that, losing yourself in that, and then just pause enough so that you can just notice any little nuances, any little change of subtle change of shade or shape, or maybe it starts to fragment. And just really being a witness. And then very gently, again, keeping your eyes closed, but very gently, as if you're opening a pair of curtains, take your hands away slowly, slowly, slowly to the sides, right out to the sides, and then just let them come down, resting back on your lap, and then just allowing that new image behind your eyelids, that vision, just letting it engulf you. It's probably quite a wide screen format, which is different to when you first look behind your eyelids. Maybe the whole color has taken over, the whole width. Maybe it has movement, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's just staying really still. And just getting a little sense of peace within that color. Just holding it there. And staying with it. It's almost as if you're in a big bubble filled with this color and it's all you can see. That's all there is, nothing else. There's a real peace with that. Now, if you would like, you can stay in this orb. If it's a nice place for you, then just stay there as long as you want and just allow yourself to come out of the meditation slowly. If you have had enough, then you can just slowly start to move your fingers a little bit, bring yourself back into the physical realm a little bit more. And very, very gently open your eyes. You're just gradually letting the light in slowly, just the same way as you went into the meditation. You're coming out nice and easy, just nice and slow. If you are still sitting there in the orb, then please stay as long as you like. When I finish the video, you're obviously in your own space. You can do that for as long as it feels good. Um, yes, I shall love you and leave you now, and see you next week. Take very good care of yourselves. Till next time.